Golly. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to an episode of High Top Sports. I'm in shambles right now. My son just broke my laptop, the one that I'm streaming on. Oh, he's killing me. A piece of Lego was inside of it, and I can't even talk right now. I just don't have kids. Oh, I'm so frustrated. I think I might be able to replace it. Oh, man. I mean, talk about it, just a punch in the gut before you rock and roll on here, boys and girls. I mean, golly. I know I'm late. I'm sorry. I was trying to compose myself because of what just happened. Let's talk about it. Stephen Harris will be joining the show here in just a minute. I know it's Valentine's Day. You guys give me crap. Why is putting the kid to bed? Perfect timing. If it is Valentine's Day and you're on a date, tell the wife, just go to the bathroom for a minute. We'll be back. We're going to talk all about it. Obviously, the big news with Will Harris departing to the Miami Hurricanes to become their safety coach. So, lateral move, as a lot are saying. This news struck last night, and look, it's a tough one to swallow, but we're going to break it all down. I know I'm going to get hit with the Disney Gator, the spin, but look, my mentality is like, hey, we're moving on. Got to see what's coming up next, but it's a tough loss to say the least. Also, we're going to be reading an article from our guy, Dylan Olive. Does a phenomenal job. Our very own High Top Sports at one point, but now works for Sports Illustrated. Did a great job of kind of like, I would say, helping digest this as best as we possibly can, given this, the circumstances. I think Will Harris came in, had a huge impact, liked what he did, improved tackling, which was written in this article, which we all saw. Definitely secondary, elevated their game from the year prior, but he uses some data to kind of talk all of things through. Then Stephen Harris, like I said, is going to join the show and give a perspective on this because there's a lot of things flying around of why this happened. And I'm going to let him kind of tell the story of kind of how this thing all shaped up and how it all worked out. And we'll break it all down. I'll give you thoughts and opinions about it, and then we will go from there. But let me give you my first initial thoughts before we do all those things. Like I kind of led the show with, was a huge component. I liked Will Harris, was a big fan. I think the type of cornerback that he went after, Cody was a big fan of him. We've talked very highly of him and had a lot of great things to say. Was really excited going into this offseason, having the core guys that we had, including the guys that we added, and now losing this. At this time, it sucks for momentum. I think that's the biggest thing. You feel like you're kind of moving in the right direction, and now this happens. You're seeing recruits react. One in particular, Onus, who just committed on February 4th. And here we are 10 days later, and the guy he's been working with him. Again, he was tweeting about it. Will Harris was tweeting about this when it happened. A lot of people, I've heard, Dave and others, we've talked about it in our Discord, that Will Harris, that this could be happening. This isn't really shocking to us. It kind of kept getting bounced around in the conversations. I was hoping it wasn't going to be true, but here we are. It is now official. He's moving on to the Miami Hurricanes. Now, I'm going to skip a couple steps here because how I look at this is my man went to a competitor, and now it's personal. You know what I mean? Again, people are asking questions for why he left and all those things. One second. Night, duders. Love you. Ow. Night, buddy. Thanks for breaking my computer. Love you. Sleep tight. Enjoy your sleep, son. Enjoy your sleep. All right, boys. So for me, though, he's dead to me. Okay, it's no different than when Trevor went to Georgia. It's no different than when Pyburn goes to LSU. I can't. I'm not cool with it. It's unacceptable. It's personal. It's 100% personal. And look, everyone has their thoughts and feelings on whether or not why he left. And again, that's where Stephen Harris, I believe, will provide some great some insight on these things, and then we'll talk about it a few more. He's running some errands at the moment before he's able to hop on. Cooley, that was a major blow. Here's what's interesting too, because the panic has ensued with the loss of Mr. Will Harris, and I get it. I liked it too. It hurt when I read it as well, but this is somebody that again took over the DB room. From my understanding with talking with Stephen Harris, this is part of where the departure came from, was his role changed when Ron Roberts came in to just coaching the DBs and not the entire secondary. And we'll get more into that as well. So, look, Liked his personality, liked his recruiting ability, think he made an impact on the DBs. And it is an important blow, but I mean, we're talking there's much bigger pieces to this, okay? I also recall Cooley probably being one of those guys when Will Harris was brought on last year. Not much excitement around him. A lot of people were questioning this hire when it happened. And a year later, we're acting as if this guy was calling every single play and running the entire ship. That is not the case. And I'm not trying to downplay what he did because I think he did a great job. But we got to this is how invested Florida fans are, which I love, but it's an assistant coach at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of other DB coaches out there. We've got names. Zach I've already put a little article out with a couple of potential targets. We'll talk about those as well. So like that, they're out there looking. Again, that's one key component. One important thing to note is that you can patch this up pretty quickly. You can make this feeling for Gator fans go away very quickly. Cooley was. He hated on Will Harris and learned to love him. So, look, I mean, I think we have to give credit to Napier. I feel like he's done a good job. Outside of the Austin Armstrong hire, all the hires thus far that he's went out there and got have been great components. Ron Roberts obviously made a huge impact last year. Chapman, obviously, we love him, what he was able to do with the defensive line. Jaluk was someone that he's brought in. Billy Gonzalez, obviously bringing him from wide receivers. All these hires that he's been able to go after have been good. So those things are exciting. Here's Chi-Town Kane. Look, Miami fans are excited for this hire, as they should be. They should be very excited for this hire. Now, let me dive into this Dylan Olive article, and shout out to him from Florida Gators Sports Illustrated, because he breaks it down by the numbers. We have emotions, we have our thoughts, and this is what I find the irony in this, because we all like to yell at Billy because he ignores the data. He ignores the number side of things, the analytics telling him to act and move a certain way. Yet, when we look at analytics and Will Harris, we want to turn a blind eye. Why? Because Will Harris passed the eye test. Will Harris passed the vibe check of what the cornerback room needed. Now, what I've also noticed on the timeline, which I love tremendously, like it's kind of already turned personal with Cheryl Chapman, with the defensive line group. Those guys been tweeting out #StrikeYou. And I asked Steven, what does that mean? He's just like kind of the mentality of striking the bag, coming out hot, exploding from the hips is what he was alluding it to. But the movement from the defensive line group and Chapman, the mindset is, and Harris and I have talked about it, him and I talked about this today, that a great cornerback or a great defensive line allows for great cornerback play. And we all can agree that the line was a huge improvement last year, okay? Which complements the secondary, which allows them to play better. And I'm not taking away from Harris, but it's a complementary game is what I'm getting at, okay? So that's kind of their mindset. It's like, hey, we feed that room. We make that room better based on our performance. We're going to be okay, which I like. That's the mentality you have to have. You've got to go out. You've got to go kill it. You've got to go after it. And I do one little analogy, and then I'll read the stats here. Where I always get labeled as the Sunshine Pumper and the Disney Gator and all these great analogies that you or names you guys give me, which I always greatly appreciate. And we have people who look at it differently and have a different perspective on this. Great example of this happened last night. Headed to the NASCAR race with little man, pumped to go. My stepdad, he likes to poke and prod at me, but the mindset that he had is a lot of perspectives of people in general, and especially Gator fans. We're headed there. There's obviously this rainstorm that's kind of floating through Florida, and there's little cells popping off. And I've been looking all day long, and there was like a small chance it would happen, then it wouldn't happen, and it kept moving around, right? Of where it was going to rain, when it was going to rain, how long it was going to rain. At one point, it was like 15% chance. I was like, we're golden, and then it flipped. It was like 80%, 100. It was mayhem. And he's making fun. He's like, it's going to rain, dude. He's like, the day's going to be shot. We're not seeing races. It's going to be postponed. Give it up. We'll go have fun, have dinner, but you're not going to see races today. Just let it go. It's going to rain. I go, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to rain. And then we'll get it dried off. We'll be good. Just be positive. We'll be fine. Disney Gator. Okay? I was like, don't worry about it. We pull into the Daytona, the track. It's 4:30, 4:15, 4:25. It is monsooning. I could take a boat, okay, from the one parking lot to the next. I was like, and he's like, I told you. It's going to be, the race going to be pushed back. The reason why that's important, sun can't stay up that late, right? So we wouldn't have made it if it got pushed back. 4:45 hits. We park. Rain stops. I go, boys got to work. Get the trucks out there, start blowing this thing off. You hear it immediately. We're walking towards the truck. You hear all they're blowing. He's like, it's not going to get dry. We're going to be here until 9:30 before the race starts. I'm telling you, it's fine. It's not going to rain anymore. We're going to be good. Just trust me. Long story short, that was a long version. Track gets dried off. It's 10 minutes past when it was supposed to start. Incredible day. Little man has a blast. Amazing. The point of the story is that both of us, all of us wanted to see the race. All of us want to see Florida win. Some of us just rather be negative about it. Some of us rather almost want the rain to happen so you're not disappointed when it does rain, right? That's the mindset of it. But I choose to say, no, it's not going to rain. It's going to be all right. We're going to figure this thing out. And sometimes I'm still disappointed, right? But sometimes I'm not. And so that's kind of how I always like to approach things. That's the kind of the motto in life. It's not easy, but that's what I kind of learned last night. Some of these Gator fans just love for it to rain. They want the race to get rained out. Although they really want to see the race, it's almost like they'd rather it be rained out than not happen at all. And so that's kind of what I looked at. Now, let's take a look here at this data here that our boy Dylan wrote up. Good to see you, though, boys and girls. Oh, waiting for the host. This is on me, Mr. Stephen Harris. You're waiting on me. My apologies, sir. I got no ring, boss. Which link are you on? He ain't even the right link. I'm working on getting Steven on, guys. Quit yelling at me. My goodness. I'm trying. He's texting me now. Let me send him a new one. Probably because my computer had smashed beforehand. That could be part of what happened. Shambles. Hopefully I'm looking at it. I'm thinking it might just be... There, see, it was on him. It was on him. Typical Stephen Harris work here. That was not my fault, gentlemen. It's Stephen Harris not knowing how to use his computer. But we're rocking and rolling now. What's going on, baby? Don't be breathing like that.
Deep sigh. Gator Nation, what's going on, baby?
Listen, man, I've already set the stage. We've been talking about it. I've already given my analogy for the day. I've already been preaching. And that's can I get an amen? And we're feeling pretty good. I kind of foreshadowed a little bit that you're going to spill the beans. So I didn't tell. I don't know what you want to say or how much you want to say or how much you want to indulge in. I think I'm going to leave that to you.
Oh man.
I mean, look, we can wait a minute if you want to warm up, but I think the fans are ready for you.
Listen, yeah, man, we got to keep the train going, so we got to do what we got to do, right? Where you want to start?
I would say we start from Jump Street. I think we kind of lay the land of where. Okay, I'll set it up. If you're on Twitter, if you're on X, if you're in these boards, you've heard a lot of things flying around of why this move happened. And in our Discord, it's a big conversation of what happened. There's a lot of people that are saying one thing, and there's people that are saying these things don't make sense. And Mr. Harris, again, I don't know how much you want to say, has spoke with some people close, I would say close to the situation, that have a synopsis of the scenario. And again, there was actually a message that was dropped in our Discord about people asking reporters on 3, one being Keith, and Keith's like, look, like we're hearing multiple things too, but we can't just be throwing out rumors because of the legitimacy. Like they could jeopardize their job because there isn't any factual things to this. And so
for sure,
this is why I've always loved doing this, because we don't have any connection that matters. But and again, we're not here to stir anything up or create any drama. We're simply just want to say what we're hearing. And again, the reason why I usually don't do this, to be fair, we hear things like this before, but because of the person that he spoke to and the connection, I feel like this is a healthy conversation to have. And that's why we're having it today. And I asked Steven if he wanted to do it, and he's all in on it. And I think we're all clear on talking about this.
Yeah, now we're all clear. First, I've heard a lot of the stuff too. This move has nothing to do with a failure per se by Napier or any type of. I've been hearing a lot of racial stuff saying stuff was said and people didn't agree. Of course, there's always friction within the team, within the coaching staff, and as grown men, we work through those type of things. So this was nothing to do with that per se, but more so just due to what we're trying to do at Florida, and if the people involved want to be a part of what's going on. We brought Roberts here to do a job, and I believe that he did that job well. Did he mesh well or did he rub some people the wrong way along the way? Probably, yeah. But that happens in football. But the end result, we saw what the end result was for the defense, and the defense was a lot better with Roberts doing his job. Now, what I know, and from what I know to be true, from I hate to say it, I don't even know how I'm saying the sources. so, so I have sources, guys. I would never say a name, but Roberts is a thorough guy. And he's one of those guys that takes responsibility and ownership of the defense. From my understanding, when Will was hired, he was hired with the title that he would have control of the whole defensive back room. That's safeties, cornerbacks included. And then we hire Roberts. It was an out of the blue hire, but Roberts is one of those once in a lifetime type of hires on defense. He's a defensive guru. According to the people that I know, he's helped many of the coaches in the NFL get to where they are and stuff like that. Is he a little hard to work with at times? Yes, because he's so demanding out of your defense, and he demands the same out of the coaches. And so he's not afraid to get in anybody's face to get things right. And a little bit of that transpired, but that's not the main reason. For Roberts, the defense to run, he doesn't have one coach that covers all of the DBs. You're gonna have a safeties coach and you're gonna have a corners coach. It's like in with the defensive line, Coach Chapman is not in control of the whole defensive front. You have an edge room, and then you have a D-line room. Coach Chapman is over the defensive line, the interior guys, the big fellas. And so that's how that defense runs, and that's how it has to be established. Harris came in with the perception that in this contract, this is what I'm hearing, that says he would coach all 5 of the groups, or all the whole defensive back group.
Yeah.
Things we went through spring, it didn't look as well. They made the decision that Ron Roberts, which is why he came, is the guy. He's going to be the leader of the defense, and they wanted him to go and make the changes. So I'm being told that he had a conversation with Will saying, hey, you're going to coach the corners. That conversation didn't go over well. He said, nah, I brought in to do this and that. Like, yeah, but I'm in charge. I'm the defensive coordinator. If we're going to run my system, this is how it's going to run. You're coaching the cornerbacks. So he was responsible for coaching the corners, according to what I've been told. And, he thought that his role was going to be bigger than that initially. And so coming towards the offseason, we hear the negotiations about he may go somewhere else. He may go here. I'm hearing that Florida, because he in the original contract, he was asked to coach all the positions as far as defensive backs. In this new contract, he's only asked to be the cornerback coach. Therefore, it's a pay cut per se. Than he's making this year is less, because your responsibilities are not as much, which is understandable. When you're talking about business, if you're not coaching that position, I don't think you're going to get paid for that position. And so that was the discrepancy as far as, I guess, contracts go. But all this whole racial undertone stuff, our coaches and players are big men, big guys. That's not the main issue here. The main issue is we have guys that are being put in a position to do things, and they did their job well, and now we're trying to move the train forward, and Harris had a decision to make. Do you stay with us and continue to build what we're building at what we can afford you at for the job that we're asking you to do, or do you move on? And it seems to me like he chose the route of moving on. Of course, everybody has a family, and you're trying to take care of your family and do the best you can. But for me, I like what our defense did. I was under the impression for most of the year that he was under the control of the whole defensive back room. But considering that he wasn't taking control of the safeties group and all of that stuff, and we had fantastic play by those groups, it gives me more hope in this situation, knowing that, okay, we got to find a corners coach, not necessarily somebody that was coaching the whole room. And so if we had to choose, I know people say it was between Roberts there and Harris. I want Roberts. I love Harris, but I need the guy that's gonna that changed it. I need the guy that got this engine roaring and going. And all this rhetoric about I hate that it keeps coming up about this whole racial stuff and all that. I met the guy. The guy's fantastic. A close friend of mine has uh, been with him in locker rooms and worked beside him, and none of that narrative is true. Is he old school? Yes. Is he demanding? Yes. Uh, is he hard to work with if you're a coach? Sometimes, yes, because he holds you accountable and holds you to a standard. He's the type of coach where if an issue happens, he wants you to go address it right away. If it don't get addressed, he's gonna take it upon himself that to get it done, because it's by his belief that when things happen bad, it falls on him as the coordinator. Nobody else get blamed, and so he's only right to go address it and check it. And so that's basically what's happening here at Florida. And for me, I love Will Harris, but you went to the U, man. I don't know what other offers was out there for you, man, but you know, you know the bad blood, so it's almost like a little slight to me. I ain't gonna lie, it's a slight, but I understand him having to do what he had to do for his family, like you say, but yeah, I feel like we're going in the right direction. We love Coach Harris. We like what he brought to the table. But if I'm honest, I can see I was looking for him on the sidelines a lot last year, and like after like the second or third game, his presence and energy wasn't the same. And I don't know if that had, well, obviously it must have had something to do with
Yeah,
him not
on what the
having
change
control
was.
over the whole room. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and so yeah, that's basically
So look,
what it is.
that was a ton of great information there. There's some questions in the chat, and look,
Yeah,
what you're
I'm ready.
asking,
Whatever
Steve
you
and I,
guys want to know, I got you.
Steve and I played this game already because I think the same way. You guys think I'm a sunshine pumper, but I'm thinking, okay, well, if this, then why that? Someone's saying like, hey, why keep a racist on staff? Again, we're trying to like that's the fact that's not happening. It's that never.
Yeah, that's not what happened, and that's not the
From
guy's not
from
racist
what
at
we
all.
know,
Yeah.
that was if there was some kind of disgruntled thing, that person is no longer on staff. Had nothing to do with Ron.
Yeah, that's not the case. Everybody's hearing secondhand information and trying to hold it as fact, and we got to stop doing that as a fan base. Like you guys almost kind of ruin it for the future guys that try to come here with all the rhetoric you guys spew sometimes, and it's not cool. Just so you guys know.
Look, somebody said why go to the U for almost the same role? Again, these are great questions, but somebody said why doesn't Napier step in and work this thing out?
It was nothing to work out.
Yeah, you got to understand when you've got two guys that have there's egos involved. We've talked about this all the time, and to look to Harris's defense, I'll play kind of devil's advocate here. He was told one thing when hired, and obviously that was adjusted. So I could see his frustration and why he doesn't like it. And from what we're hearing, again, maybe Ron is the best communicator on how this is happening, right? Like there's ebbs and flows to these things. So how that transaction happened probably didn't go over well. And so, look, I was told one thing, that's not happening. Not a fan of what I'm doing now. And there was a talks of reconstructing his contract and extending it, but probably didn't meet all the needs that he was wanting either.
Yeah. Well, what happens is when you get a guy, nobody knew we was going to get Ron Roberts. Ron Roberts is coveted by a lot of people for his defensive mind and what he can do to a defense. Well, I've been told when you hire Ron Roberts, you bringing him to come in and change what the status quo of your defense. And so it was by my understanding that the writing was on the wall of what Ron Roberts' role was for the defense, and that everybody else was trying to adjust. The whole talk with Armstrong saying, yeah, we work together and this and that. Armstrong already knew once they hired Ron Roberts that he was no longer the defensive coordinator. He already knew that. We tried. From my understanding, they tried to work it out where he could possibly call some plays and see how it went. But when the spring didn't go how they wanted to on defense, it was asked upon Ron Roberts that, hey, okay, I need you to just go ahead and take over how you know how to do. And him doing that was moving people around to where he believed they needed to be, and his defense. And it doesn't require where you're going to have one cornerback coaches both the corners and the safeties. And like in with the defensive line, we got Chapman and we have Peterson. You're gonna have two at the cornerback position, the safety position, at the defensive line, the edge position, and you have one linebacker coach. That's just how he runs the defense. That's how Armstrong was running it. I'm not sure with Harris' contract and the language how that got in there or what, but that was from my sources. That was the language in his contract, and he wanted to be over that as a whole. And so, when you don't get that and you came for that, it sucks. But at the same time, our defense got better. Sometimes you got to adjust. And when things not going right, you got to make those adjustments. So I don't fault nobody for making adjustments and us getting to what we got accomplished last year defensively. Anybody that's mad at what we accomplished defensively with the moves that he made to get it done is don't like football, don't want to see us succeed. Hard decisions have to happen.
Yeah. So somebody's asking about how this is going to affect recruiting, and I want to read this little snippet. Thank you to Dylan for kind of breaking it down for us so we can see it visually versus just feel it, right? So while Gator fans prepare for a mass exodus of Florida Gator defensive backs because of his departure, great article from Dylan, man. My man crushed it. A look into the group may bring some relief. Of the 17 scholarship DBs on Florida's current 2025 roster, 8 were committed to Florida before Harris arrived, including every player of the 17 to play over 200 snaps last season. Take out the 25 class, only 4 returning players committed to Harris while part of the program. On top of that, of the 4 DBs recruits Florida's freshman class, 2 were legacy recruits, meaning their connection with the program goes further than just coaching relationships. While that doesn't take away from Harris' possible impact, does seem to point to a more optimistic chance of retention in the spring portal. So one of, again, a name that, and he puts this in his article to keep an eye on, is Jalen Waters, seatbelt for 2026. He kind of was laughing about it, seeming, and look, that's going to happen. That is part of it. You're going to always have some departure, but with that, there's someone else that could come onto the board that may have not been in the works prior to that. And because of Coach Vinny, I've already seen some names that have popped up because of what he was able to do for them. So everyone panicking, I wouldn't be too concerned. Again, could we see some moves in the portal? It's possible. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, it's just
yeah.
Jakeem Jackson was recruited by Corey Raymond because that's the type of cornerback that he likes. Doesn't fit that Will Harris mold. He moved on, but not because he's not good or great. It just didn't fit what he was going after. So we may see some of those things. That's ebbs and flows of college football. And it's kind of the world we live in right now.
Yeah, you're going to see some movement. You would have saw it regardless, but majority of the players, I believe, are here because they saw what the defense was able to do schematically as far as what we did, how we ran the team. And that's a big part of what Roberts bring to the table. A lot of people created those relationships with Will Harris, but when you come to Florida, you're not coming for one coach. And every recruit knows that you don't go to the school just for the coach that's there, because overnight things can change. Is it a blow to a lot of people? Yes. Do you have relationships that you made? Yes. Do some people may leave? Possibly. But overall, I believe that the guys that are committed to the Gators didn't just commit because of one person.
I remember when, what's his name? Jay Bateman, our linebacker coach, left. Graham, remember his father, all those guys kind of had a quick uproar because this happened shortly after signing day. And again, that was a huge impact on the linebacker room, and the linebackers were probably some of the best performance we had this past year. So we've dealt with this before in the sense of guys kind of getting. Go ahead.
And to that point, Shelton, when you said we lost Bateman, a lot of people were upset. But the one thing I remember Graham saying is he knew who we were getting. He knew that Ron Roberts was coming, and he was thrilled to be here because of what he was going to be able to learn from him. And so that's why the players wasn't as upset because they knew what we were getting. And so when you get a guy like Roberts to come in, with the work that he's put in, the connections that he has, the way he's able to teach you the game, you can't help but be excited about that. So I got faith that Florida will go out and get someone. First of all, everybody that's talking and going all up in arms didn't even believe in the Will Harris hire in the beginning.
Yeah, say that before you got here.
In the beginning. Yeah, so we love what he did, but don't count the Gators out. Yes, we you know what I mean. I'm not gonna try to save you Florida hype, but most of you guys didn't know about him like that. You know what I mean? So I have faith that we will go get somebody else. And above all that, I have faith in Coach Chapman that the quarterback ain't gonna have a lot of time to throw the ball anyway. Okay, we gonna be getting to the
I was talking
quarterback.
about strike you before you got here. The
Yeah,
real
it goes hand in hand.
this it just says real. I don't know if there's more to the name, but he says no DB hire will be an upgrade. That to me is an asinine comment because you're claiming that Will Harris is the greatest DB coach to ever live. Then that's what we're saying here. And mind you, if that's the case, that's a Billy Napier find.
Listen, and we can't find 5 guys to name me a cornerback coach that they believe is the greatest cornerback coach. So anybody that's just out there talking like that, just talking. And our defense, you're not going to find that coach that's going to be in control of all the defensive backs. So that role is going to be a little less of a caliber role. That's not the main focus of the defense. That we need to be big and beefy up front. We need to get to the quarterback. As long as you can get to the quarterback, all that other stuff goes out the window.
Look, and I think again, people are gonna, and I kind of prefaced it before the show started that the Will Harris made a huge impact. Love what he did. Love the cornerbacks that he went after. No. I mean, look, there's a hate in the sense of the rivalry, right? Like it's personal, but I'm not trying to we're not trying to downplay this. Again, definitely a huge impact, but I think more of the whole point of this was the noise that's being spread. And again, a big question that I ask, well, hey, why doesn't somebody come out and say this? Well, take a step back. Everything's political, right? And if you come out, if somebody comes out and says, hey, there was a dispute, there was a debacle between the thought process, it's someone's going to lose in that battle, right? Because in any argument, Will Smith says it in his book, and I love it. His mom told him this. When you got two people arguing from a distance, both of you look stupid. And so when you come out and say, here, there was a debacle going on, you're like, you guys couldn't figure it out. Someone's going to get dragged and burned a lot more if that were to come out. And so no coaches want to do that. Nobody's trying to burn any bridges, but this is business, and sometimes they can get a little bit ugly. And sometimes you would like for these things to be handled behind the closed doors, but you can't. Billy can't take a piss there without us knowing about it. So
yeah,
it's just the name of the game. And it's how it flows. But that to me is why sometimes these things don't come out, because it's a big political game. And look, these things come full circle. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to burn these bridges. I mean, I'm sure there's at the end of the day, Coach or Will Harris and Napier would love to work together at some point, and they could cross paths again. You never want to burn that. This thing is so big.
Easily. It comes down to numbers, where you at with your family, and what you're looking for to do with your future. You know what I mean? I'm sure Will Harris, coming from the league and coming all the way to the East Coast, wanted some stability and stuff like that. But we're the Gators, and we need to move this program forward. Nobody's bigger than the logo. So how do we get this thing forward? And are you willing to be on board with what we can do? And if not, then you got to make some decisions. I hate the fact that he's going to Miami, because I love the guy, but now I gotta hate him. but I do want to ask this question to the audience and stuff. Who's the Eagles defensive back coach? Did you see what the Eagles defensive line did to Kansas City during the Super Bowl?
The DBs were nasty too, though.
They are nasty, but listen, they're very nasty. You hear me? They're very nasty. But when your quarterback can't go nowhere or can't throw the ball, or every time you hike it, the linemen are sitting in your lap. I mean, they almost broke his ACL, man, trying to throw the ball because he threw a lineman into him. So it goes hand in hand. When you got great people playing up front, you can get the job done. I believe we'll be fine. Like I said, just knowing that he didn't have the control of the whole defensive back room. We did have a different safeties coach. He was in control of the corners. All we have to do is fill the corner position.
Yeah, Chauncey's pretty good too. Let's read a couple super chats here before we wrap this thing up. John Lee says Stephen Harris for DB coach. He's free. We got Rookie says $5 is disappointing, but Sun's gonna go come up tomorrow. 100%. I mean, look, it stung last night. Like I liked Will Harris a lot, and again, I kind of been hearing this that it was happening and it wasn't happening. Like, it's been a roller coaster behind the scenes. I was just hoping it would go away, but it obviously didn't. $5 from the professor says I got drug for pumping Will Harris when he got hired by Cooley and RB Sniper. Look, it is crazy. I remember when both hires happened. So look, big loss for sure. But we pointed to data, not emotion, to data on how you overcome this, is it a tough loss for sure? There was one more little tidbit here that I want to read from Dylan's article that he talked about the good things. Our tackling improved, another stat line improved, but we also went down in one of the stats. So while the Gators are sent to panic, this is his little article. The Florida saw a big turnaround on defense. The Gators secondary still have flaws. The Gator finished the year with 63.4 coverage grade according to PFF, ranking 111th out of 134 and 14th out of 16th in the SEC. This grade was actually worse than their grade the year before Harris took over at 67.7 and far worse than Miami's 76.4 grade this season. Again, more data kind of saying like, okay, yes, there were some bright spots, but there were still some holes. And somebody just said there's not a better upgrade. Well, based on a few things here, I disagree. And again, this isn't a shot towards Will. It's just we want to yell and use data for other things. We're going to use data here today. So look, he improved tackling by 10 points, which was great. And he also improved secondary improved from a lowly 3 interceptions. Yeah, we had way more interceptions. But again, you could credit a lot of that to the defensive line putting pressure and forcing the quarterback to make inerrant throws and for those guys to have an opportunity to pick it off. So
Yeah. You got to talk about how many sacks we had this year versus last year. Then getting into the hurries and pressures, that means a lot.
For sure. Look, Colin, what's going on, man? Good to see it. There are some names being thrown around. Corey Bell was one of them. There's a couple more that I've seen be tossed around of possible potential guys. And the names, to be honest, all the names that I saw were very. I mean, we say there isn't a better DB. There's excitement there, and that I would feel very happy with filling right into the role. And I promise you that hire gets picked. I think that again, maybe not, but I think you could. There's plenty of names I feel like that you could say that we go, okay, we're good. We're back in normal. And that's where I think we have to kind of step off the box a little bit. We like I said, right now, a lot of us like for it to, I use the analogy, you didn't hear it, but we look for it to rain. We almost want it to rain. So that's what we're hoping to happen. And it's like, look, guys, relax.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's partially our fault because we hyped it up, not hyped it up, but we loved what he brought to the team. And we love the energy, and we raved about it so much. So now that he's leaving, everybody's kind of gut checked or gut punched or whatever. But we'll survive. The Gator Nation is on the roll. Everybody can see what we got going. We'll be just fine, man. You guys
if we had to look, we're here. If we had to rate coaches to keep, right, out of like Jaluk, Chapman, Gonzalez, Roberts, right, Harris. Where would he fall in that line? That's what and again, I hates that we have to be in that, and it shouldn't have come to that. But I think we kept. I mean, I would have loved to still kept probably over others, but there's people ahead of them that I'm glad we were able to keep too. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Facts. We lost one.
Yeah.
Well, one that we would have wanted to have kept for sure.
For sure.
But when you look at it that way, in order of importance for me, he would have felt where he's kind of falling at. And they did take some responsibilities away from him, and so that's just obvious.
This game just became more.
We need Jaluk, and we need Gonzalez with the receivers that we're bringing in, to keep the offense going.
That game didn't need any more juice for Miami.
Oh my God!
But it's about to get real. This is a level of personal that I don't think that I've ever felt for this game. I feel
spited. I feel spited. I'm not gonna lie. I feel spited, Coach. I feel spited, man. I do. I don't know what the situation was, man.
We talked about on the phone the irony here because when Trevor Etienne asked for more or had a disgruntled feeling of how things were being ran, he left, and we dragged Trevor. When Jack Pyburn had some things that he wanted, couldn't work that out, he left. We dragged him. But this situation, there was some wants and probably some needs and things to work out, and they couldn't find a middle ground. So respectfully, he moves on. It's the flip side of it.
They want the olive ranch. Give them an olive ranch.
you can't please everybody, man. It's tough. It's a tough world out there. I mean, you're seeing. I mean, it's not just us. I mean, a lot of teams are. I mean, think about Ohio State. I mean, they look. I think they did a great job replenishing those roles by bringing in Hartline, still kind of unknown. Matt Patricia, you can look at that different ways, but losing arguably the best defensive coordinator in the country to your rival. I mean, that's a massive blow. That is because they're coming off a championship, it doesn't feel as tough, but that is a monstrous
yeah,
blow.
for sure.
Monstrous blow.
For sure.
My man Rookie out here, this guy, dude, he's the man. He dropped 50 bones. 50.
Rookie.
Hey, thanks. That's going to go to the fixing of the laptop, Rook. Thanks, man. This is you didn't hear my son broke my laptop before the show, so cracked the screen. Yeah, brutal.
You having a horrible day. Tires the laptop.
Well, that was 2 days ago. So we're the week.
Yeah.
The week. No, it's all good. I mean, look, it could be it's still functioning. It just got a cracked screen. So it's all like looks like it's all red and purple. Yeah. Thankfully I have my big screen. That's what I'm looking at because it's still working. I just plugged it in and now it's just basically like a paperweight. $50 from my man Rookie. My man, this is Georgia levels of hate. 100%. This game has more hate than it's ever had in my life anyways. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. It's definitely I know Coach Chapman is fired up. The defensive line is fired up.
Personal.
So one thing I could tell you is that this team still has a chip on their shoulder. So anything that goes offset is not finna divide them. It's only gonna bring them together stronger. And so I love that about this group of guys. It's them against the world mentality right now. So the departure of Will Harris is not finna fracture the team. It's only gonna bring them guys together stronger and make them go harder. So
few guys will be upset, as any movement would. That's just the name of the game. But yeah, I think ultimately it's going to bring a little bit of more fire that, we can never use too much fire. Well, boys, I think it was a great show. I missed it yesterday. I was at Daytona with Little Man. One of the greatest days of my life to be able to, he loved it, which was the cool thing. It was a big fear if he was not going to like the noise and everything, but he was,
yeah,
he saw
videos, earmuffs and stuff.
Yeah, he was fist pumping and yelling and full blown redneck mullet riding. So it was cool, man. It was something that I was hoping would go the way that it did, and he loved it. So it was an awesome day, and Will Harris had to ruin it. So thanks, Will. I'll make sure I remember that September. But yeah, good stuff, boys.
Hey, it is funny though that a lot of these guys want our guys after they rivalries call our coaches trash and all this other stuff. But soon somebody come available, boy, y'all sure be right there.
Yeah, all these coaches everyone we're pissed at Billy for leaving. Don't forget who brought him here. Okay, I mean, it just is what it is. Hey, Sunshine Pumpers unite, boys. That's what we're rocking and rolling with. Hopefully, look, I always try to address all parties. Okay, I know where I stand. Y'all know where I stand, but I respect the other side, and I try to make sure that we accommodate to everybody. Hopefully, we did. Probably not. I'm sure we'll find some things to get yelled about. But at the end of the day, we keep on talking. We keep on rolling. Y'all be good. Smash the like button, subscribe. Stephen Harris, ladies and gentlemen, 2006 national champion.
Keep the train going, baby.
And I'm just a dad that hosts a podcast from time to time. Y'all be good. Peace and love, baby.